As I have some time to sit down and really throw it upon my thoughts from these two books, I can only imagine how many men have endured the struggles of Omar Gonzalez and Niccolo Machiavelli. Omar Gonzalez, a man who has endured child abuse, the military, and college, in order to become what I consider a great man. Niccolo Machiavelli, a man who wanted nothing more than for his home of Italy to be redeemed after the fall of the Roman Empire, laid off from his job, not because of incompetence, but his loyalties. What I love about these books is both men were known for great violence, I guess you would say. Gonzalez is a former wrestler and a soldier. Machiavelli is a political strategist, an aristocrat, and military mind. Both these men found their expression to cauterize their soul's pain with a book, in hopes that they'll be read and perhaps to fully be understood instead of misconceived or misused. I'll begin by saying both these books are ranked very highly for me, though neither has a perfect score. Considering there are literally millions upon millions of books, most of these books are actually twos or threes. Both these books, the Prince and the Phantom Struggle, get a score of 4 out of 5, which I still consider a feat of excellence. This is not a laughing matter. Anything above a 3 for me, even getting a 3 for me means you have a really good book. So that's not bad. This is also because I received Omar's book in the mail, and I consider this a sponsorship. So for any sponsorship that I do, I can't really give you a 5 out of 5 unless you definitely have a pure 5 out of 5 product. This is a poetry book. It's a little bit short, and I don't really get to know. I get to talk to J.O. himself. The book itself doesn't really let me get to know him as a person, but it makes me want to get to know him as a person. So I'm just always going to be honest, real, and give the deepest perspective that I can muster. So both these books were like tragic, but in a great way, but mostly in a way that all a man's glory seems tied to how much he suffers, or else no one recognizes it that type of way. However, the feelings I get from both these men are not that they wish to endure and they want to keep suffering more, especially since J.O. is saying that he's sorry for how much pain and for how much suffering that he can take. It's that they're both being done. I'm sorry. It's that both of these men are being casted out, and being someone else's object of ridicule and someone else's object for torture and abuse. Both these men took their ambition, their experience, and used it to craft their future by leaving a legacy of all they've endured. This takes a major depth into self-introspection of all the old school Stoics that I deeply respect, and I've long adopted that kind of Stoic mindset. It's essential in this transcendental type of content, for the authors were, and they are, truly pouring out their knowledge to say, I don't care if you don't know how to love me or properly use me. My mind is my fortune, and my memories are my joy and my suffering. People say that it's Machiavellian, and when they say that, they use it to describe something that's evil, or that's ruthlessly calculating or tactical. However, Nick himself even refers to his writings as common sense. He wasn't an Oxford scholar. He was a man who spent his entire life attempting to save Italy from ruin to no avail, because Italy refused to be saved. He's not telling you to backstab people and to manipulate people. He gives really great advice on how to save Italy from impending doom. Keep giving way to men who lack the finer qualities of being a true principality. I also thought it was really interesting that the title's real name, when he was first working on it, was called The Principality, or The Principalities. However, it was rebranded to The Prince. I don't know. It's just really, really good marketing. It's a great strategy to sell more copies of the book. Machiavelli writes different subjects and articles for the Medici family after they come to power, in hopes to give proper instruction so the people who fired him wouldn't ruin anything. It's like when the veteran of a company that's been working there for 20 years is suddenly let go, and then he's writing a handbook for the people who fired me. I mean, for fired him, not me. But I should probably do that for Target or something. It's an ultimate flex, and it's an ultimate way to quit your job. Moreover, this book is actually within itself the most important representation of what Machiavelli was trying to teach. He did not send an army, he did not send poison. Instead of attempting to wage an unnecessary war, he took the time and meditation and simple living and humility within a civilian farmer lifestyle to have written a book. It's an instruction manual on how to save Italy from its enemies, both internally and externally. And that kind of brings me to both these books in connection, because Omar makes similar mention, and there's something I really want to touch on connecting both these stories together. Like, it's so weird that he has the same middle name with me, but it's pretty awesome. And I have actually gotten to sit down and have a discussion with Omar Gonzalez. He's a really good guy. But Omar makes a reference to the three aspects of health we must be responsible in. First is within our upbringing or our behavioral psychology. Second is our character due either to our trauma or our accolades or our psychodynamics. And lastly, questioning if we are a result of just purely our genetics in the human genome, our behavior genetics. I found this very interesting because Niccolo dedicates a chapter or two on the three good governments and the three bad governments. I believe the ego in this situation, or rather the counterbalance, is found centuries later in Omar Gonzalez's analysis of the human responsibility. I guess analogy works as well. That behavior genetics, and psychodynamics, basically acting out our beliefs, acting out our psychology, our mindset. The good forms of government, according to Machiavelli, are the monarchical, the aristocratic, and the democratic. However, monarchs easily become fascist. Aristocracy can easily become an oligarchy, and democracy usually degrades into anarchy. Where is my connection? Society is not created by one person like a president or a dictator. It's created by people, multitude. Yes, therapy is a great option to understand our pain and to reintegrate individuals into society. However, to cure the human for good, then one must cure society. To cure society, the needs of every last human being must be met. This is impossible for one person to do for all, for every single last person. But it's very capable, and he must do it for himself. I believe human responsibility and accountability for ourselves, our own triggers, traumas, and our tendencies before pointing fingers, The only way for society to degrade into fascism, anarchy, or secret societies controlling a stolen reality is through its citizens. The government and the private sector are only permitted to do what the citizenship allows it to do. I love that Machiavelli wanted to save Italy, but for him to have written about how he maintained his sanity through such a position, through losing his position, or through regaining his legacy in politics, just a more deep insight, not just into what he knows, but to what helped him as a man to get through those situations. That would have been a lot better for me, and that probably would have made the book a 5 out of 5. This is what truly could have saved society, is one of these aristocrats who were disconnected with the human experience, returning to the human experience, and having to reconcile his life as a human, as a real person, not a king, not a god amongst men, and to realize all men are equal and whole, as they are, with no more, no less for their materials or wealth, if they are not good men and good at being strong men. Instead, he longs and wants for his past life without being able to accept his life without having returned to aristocracy. And that's not, I don't know, I feel like there's no real lesson for you to learn as a man. Maybe as a strategician or as a politician, you might be able to learn from him, but you can't really learn from him as a man in that. On the other hand, Omar Gonzalez says that he isn't a child inside a man's body, still trying to find or understand himself. He says, I found myself a long time ago. I know and understand who I am, what my goals are, and what I'm capable of. I believe this characterizes what Niccolo had hoped to achieve. However, it came across as if Machiavelli had lost himself in losing his position. And attempting to regain his position was an attempt to reclaim who he is as a person. Instead of him simply just being Niccolo Machiavelli, he did not see himself as that without politics. Omar Gonzalez can never lose sight of himself, and this creates the counterbalance between a good government degrading into a bad government. It is the personal responsibility the citizenship accepts for maintaining and ensuring a good government, no matter where they start. In American society, we had turned into a nation of pointers with their heads dug into the sand, who don't want the responsibility of realizing what's actually going on in the world, but want to reserve the rights to complain about it. We hire people to solve the problem so we don't have to be responsible. Then the entirety of the dialogue is criticizing, bashing, or responding to blind worship of false idols with more worship of false idols. We need to elect people who have plans, clear ideas, and the energy to fix these problems. And the major responsibility of the citizenship is to be clear, direct, and assertive, most importantly, in what problems actually need to be fixed. Instead, we want out-of-touch millionaires, out-of-touch billionaires, and logisticians and scientists to help humanity when, historically speaking, these are the exact people who most wound us and who have always taken advantage when given that position. It's not their job to do that. It's their job to be scientists. It's their job to be good at money. It's not their job to have the best interest of humanity at heart. And that's when it's up to the everyday citizen to be honest and forefront with what they need, to be honest and forefront with what is working properly and what needs to be fixed. Then we can compare notes between ourselves and compare notes with modern day and with history, like with Omar Gonzalez and Niccolo Machiavelli. You know, because I feel like this just gets us closer to healing ourselves and healing humanity. Is seeing two books like this written into very different, vastly different perspectives of life, very different, vastly different time periods of life as well, but still delivering this type of message that it is up into a leader of a nation to be aware of these things, to be strategic and mindful of the competition that exists in the world. Because he talks about war, but I think competition would be a better idea for the average person than just war. I don't know, but I guess we do know in a type of way. So, I thank you for checking out this week's book review. If you liked it, please give me a like and share the video with your friends. If you have read either of these books or would like to read them, please leave a comment below letting me know why. And as always, you can buy my books at bit.ly, bit.ly/Daryl Omar Books. Thank you all. Peace out. Out here.